Okay, before we move on to game turn 2, I should mention a couple of rules mistakes that I've made already. Yeah, there have been a couple of major oversights. One pertaining to Soviet movement, and you can see I've already rolled back to the beginning of their movement phase, which is where we left off. And I totally forgot that they are eligible for columnar movement, probably because the map has no roads depicted on it, unless these really faint gray lines in the hexes are our roads. As long as they begin their movement phase not adjacent to an enemy unit, and as long as their entire movement is not through or into a hex that is adjacent to an enemy unit, they can double their movement allowances, and we definitely want to take advantage of that, which is another reason I chose to roll back. But also, another thing that I forgot was that they received a number of replacement points during their Soviet reinforcement replacement phase that is between the two German phases. We placed the reinforcements, but we also received 2 rifle replacement points and 2 elite unit replacement points. We spent those points to replace 2 untried rifle armies, 1 in Moscow, 1 in Kalinin. There's a possibility that I grabbed a previously eliminated unit, but I'm not too concerned about that since they're face down anyway, and I don't remember what those values were. And then we also spent an elite replacement point to place this shock army that started in the dead pile in clean. So with that, we're going to finish up our Soviet movement phase, doubling all of these units, most or all of these units' movement allowances, and then enter game turn 2. I should also mention that when it comes to columnar movement, a unit cannot enter or move through an intact enemy fortification, which is why you saw that strange movement by the Germans during their movement phase. And that is also why this Soviet cavalry corps with a movement allowance of 8, for example, should it choose to move down and around toward Vyazma, would have to stop here because it's being prevented by these intact German fortifications and German zones of control. And instead of moving in that direction to this hex, which has already been destroyed and considered regular clear terrain, and since it only has a defense factor of 1, I think that it will instead join his fellow reinforcement replacement units to maybe try to slow down this German push towards Mozhaisk, and more importantly, their drive toward Moscow. You can, however, move into or through intact enemy fortifications. We've seen the Germans do this here, by moving regularly, using your regular movement allowance, or by advancing after combat. It's just when it comes to this road mode that you're limited to destroyed enemy fortifications. Okay, so here is the end of the Soviet movement phase, and you can see it's a lot better for them. They've moved basically all of the reinforcement replacement units out of these city hexes and up toward the front line, the new secondary front line around Mozhaisk, taking advantage of intact fortifications and some forest hexes, some rivers. We'll see how long they can hold their positions, but even if they're knocked back, as long as they're not eliminated, they have a double line of fortifications in this central area as well as around Moscow itself, so hopefully it'll be enough to last them. But like I said, we're entering turn 2 and the Germans are already almost halfway across the board, so it's pretty scary. Okay, so we've just finished the German combat and Soviet reinforcement and replacement phase. You can see that the Germans have conquered Kirov with the help of ground support aircraft, which provided them an additional full 6 combat strength points. Over here, there were quite a few rifle armies that were eliminated in this general area. So you can see there are no Soviet units from here all the way down to basically Sukinich. So this area, entire central area, has been pretty much cleared of Soviet units. And there was an attack here that failed, and they did not attempt an attack into Sukinich. They're probably going to do so in the next combat phase when they can get more units around there. I mean, they've managed to cut supply lines to that city hex, which is very helpful when trying to push units out of that area. But this guy by himself is probably not going to be able to do much of anything. We've placed probably how many? 4 or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 engineer armies that arrived this turn as reinforcements. One down here in the supply source, one in Kaluga, one stacked with an untried rifle replacement army in Mozhaisk itself, one in Klin, and one up in Kalinin. So we're about to enter the German movement phase. If you look at the terrain effects chart here, you'll see lots of helpful information. At this angle it's probably difficult to read, but city hexes provide a 2 left column shift. There are no concentric attack bonuses. When the defenders are in supply, all DR results are converted to AL1, attacker loses a step, which is why it's so important to try to do your best to cut supply lines to those cities before attacking. A concentric attack bonus provides the Germans a 2 right column shift and the Soviets a 1 right column shift when attacking, as long as they're attacking either from 2 opposite sides when they have their target hex pinned, or from 3 sides, 3 adjacent hexes, as long as there's an empty hex between them, or from any of the 4 or more hexes surrounding the target hex, provided the target hex is not a city or intact fortification. I have yet to come across it, but I hope to get it on camera when I do. This is another one of the things that struck me as something that would make this game maybe not a beginner war game, but definitely a next step. The Soviet dead piles up here. There are 6 rifle armies and 1 cavalry corps. The Germans are going to go with a fight move again to take advantage of that 1 column shift. Not much has happened up here on the left side of the German front line. An Italian Axis satellite army has arrived into Vyazma. We are gearing up for some attacks right outside of Mozhaisk, avoiding Mozhaisk itself and the fortifications right outside of it, mainly because of this Soviet shock army with the very unpredictable combat and defense factors that are modifiers. So over here, a predictable defender eliminated for that Soviet cavalry corps, and over here we'll see what happens. Hoping to take advantage of some 2 hex advances after combat. And then we'll probably make our way around both sides, this way and this way, to gear up for a major attack into the city itself. I should mention though that one of these guys has already suffered a step loss in previous combat phase. I think it's the 557. And if you look over here, we got the 596 kind of doing something suspicious up there. Probably trying to reposition himself so that he can pin the that Soviet rifle army that's at the edge there. Okay, slowly but surely, game turn 4, the 3rd week of July, the Germans are at 4 victory points after taking Sukich. There's a whole load of reinforcements arriving, mostly German this time. Soviet dead piles, that's 6 rifle armies, 2 cavalry corps, and an engineer army. Up here, not much has happened. They managed to pin this revealed Soviet rifle army. Down here, largely abandoned, but well within German control. Germans have moved forward, creating kind of a secondary line, a new front line. The Soviet players trying to maintain control of that supply source, with the engineer army stacked with an untried Soviet rifle army, a couple of elite Soviet mechanized armies, all very unpredictable as usual in their defense factor, in clear terrain, looking a little better up toward the forest across the river, and the Germans not quite engaging anywhere else except for right outside of Mozhaisk in that one area. And for that reason, I'm considering choosing a move fight sequence for this turn. Haven't done so yet in this game, and it depends. I mean, we're not really in that much of a hurry, but we're set up pretty well to hopefully break through that corridor leading to easy access toward Moscow. I'll have to think about that. Anyway, another thing is up here, there are a couple of units guarding Kalinin. Not quite sure if we'll attempt to take control of that. It's a little bit out of the way, and we don't want to stretch ourselves out too much, so if all goes well around Mozhaisk, we can send a few guys up there to take care of that, or attempt to at least. So with that, we're going to enter the German movement. Yeah, let's do movement first. Okay, so I have finished German movement and Soviet placement. We've engaged up and down this line. I'm thinking about using this ground support aircraft tentatively in an attack there. If this goes well, definitely want to attack here. Possibly this. This goes well again. Still thinking about attacking here and here. We'll probably hold off there. Definitely want to attack there, and we'll probably hold off on the rest of this part as well. So let's go ahead and resolve this first. We have 3 units attacking with 5, 2, and 1, total of 8. They're defending in an intact fortification in the forest with 2, 8 to 2, 4 to 1, shifting 3 times down to the 1 to 1 column. We roll a 4 on the 1 to 1. AS, attack stalled. Nothing happens, no effect. Small correction, not so small actually. This unit was out of supply. It's automatic defender eliminated. We will advance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Attacking with 5 and 5, they're defending in the forest with 2. 10 to 2, 5 to 1, we're shifting once to the 4 to 1, and we get, it's pretty good, a 2, 4 to 1, defender eliminated. Alright, This unit goes away. We may advance. 1, 2. 1, 2. Now, I do believe that these units, actually all of these units are out of supply. Because that is not actually a supply source. In which case, we definitely want to make those attacks. Maybe we should do this down here first. We're attacking with 7, 4, and 4. 15, they're defending in a fortification with 1 overkill. Automatic defender eliminated. We may advance. I don't think we need to use our ground support on these attacks, actually. So let's go. Okay, so they're defending with 4. Yeah, so that's total rounded down. Halved and rounded down to 2. 10 to 2. 5 to 1. 2 to 1. After the shifts, and we get a 4 on the 2 to 1 is defender retreats. And these guys have no retreat path, so they're both eliminated. That was a very powerful rifle army. We may advance. This isn't working out very, very well for the Germans in general, I think. Let's see. 1, 2. One, 2. Next over here, we're attacking with 7 and 4. So 11, they're defending with 2, and the shock army has a modifier of +1 on a 1d6. So let's say 5, 6, 7, round down to 3, 3, 3 to 1. This one we might actually want to consider using this guy just in case. So they're defending, let's figure this out first. The shock army is defending with 3 + 1 is 4, so their total is 6, rounded down to 3. And we are attacking with 11 + 1, 12. Okay, so that's an even 4 to 1. And that shifts down to the 1 to 1. And we get a 3 defender retreats. These guys, this is eliminated and permanently. This guy is a 2-step unit, but he has no retreat path, so I don't think that he can survive that. So that is actually placed in the dead pile on its reduced side, I think. And then this is used. We may advance. So down, we have a couple of options down here. Let me zoom back out. Down by the river. This, we could possibly do a 1 to 1. I don't know if it's worth it though. It may be, just because this has quite a high movement factor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Could easily pin that unit, and I don't know if I want that happening. So let's try 5 to, they're defending with 5, so yeah, that's 1 to 1. Okay, so on the 1 to 1 we got another 5. Okay, so attack stalled while we tried. I actually haven't made this attack yet. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. They're defending in the forest with 2. Okay. We're attacking with 9, shifting to the 3-1. Actually, yeah. Okay, we rolled a 2 on the 3-1, defender eliminated. Okay, this is a 2-step unit, but it's eliminated. And we may advance. Let's see. 1, 2, 1. And I think that ends the German combat phase. Okay, game turn 5. The last week of July. The Russians are at 5 victory points after taking Mozhaisk. These 2 Romanian Axis satellite armies were delayed from turn 4. They'll probably come on the map this turn. Our Soviet dead pile is amassing 9, I believe, rifle armies, a shock army, mechanized army, 3 cavalry corps, 2 engineer armies. Here's a look at the board. Whoa! I always get that the other way around. Okay, so we finished our Soviet movement. They've yet to really engage in any combat, I don't think. So, but they have managed to kind of spread out, kind of deepen their defensive position down here around Kaluga. A little bit in this kind of opening between the forests, and basically a very tight line up and around Klin, with 1 engineer army left in Kalinin. So now that we've finished the first 4 turns finally, I'm probably going to have to break down this video into several parts. I think from here on out I'll do even fewer updates, or at least in less detail. Let's see how it goes.